Hi, I'm Nechama Skolnick-Moskowitz, and I'm delighted to share with you a resource that I think may help your script writing go a whole lot easier. Most of this presentation will be by Linda Duke, who's a master teacher with Hebrew Through Movement and is co-facilitating a community of practice with teachers in the field. But I wanted to share with you some things in advance, and then you'll hear from her in her own words. First of all, just some preliminary notes about script writing. First of all, it gets easier the more you do it. The first year or so when you're trying to think about your lesson plan, this is with any kind of teaching, it can be hard. The more you do it, the more you figure out what your kids need, the more you figure out what you need in the realm of what's in front of you as you're teaching, the easier it definitely will become. Secondly, script writing is not always linear. I think sometimes people think, well, first I have to write out everything I'm going to do for my review, warm up, everything, all the new words I'm going to introduce, and then do the integration. Chances are you're going to start with the new words. You're going to figure out what you need to be doing in the warm up, how you're going to integrate up. That's going to affect something that's earlier on. It's a constant back and forth. And I guess depending how you approach crossword puzzles, it may be that a pencil is better for you to use than a pen. But keep your mind open to this non-linearness. You can go back and forth. It's also not just about words on paper. Writing a script is not about, here's my 25-line something that I've written, because there's so much you need to be thinking about. You need to be thinking about your space, about the props you have available, the props you want to have available, how your kids react to things, how kids go off sometimes. It's a lot of things that you have to be thinking about. And we encourage you not to take this on as a writing task, but really a thinking and a planning task. And fourthly, you may write the best script. I sometimes write the best curriculum. And then in the moment, like it just kind of goes out the window because kids have forgotten something, the room isn't set up the way you need it, a prop's not working, like whatever. But a script helps you know where you're going. It's important to plan so that you have the best chance of getting there, but you also know that you need to make this yours and that things may happen along the way. So Linda's about to share with you a worksheet that will help you in your planning. Let's hear it from her in her own words.
First thing I would suggest doing is think about what words you're going to be introducing that day, because that's kind of what your whole lesson is going to revolve around. And just list them at the top of the sheet. If there's a preposition to go with it, definitely add that in. Anything you need to know about the word, you might want to include it at the very beginning. And then you're going to do just a really quick sketch. Starting with the warm-up and review, think about what words you might want to include. Words that were recently introduced are great because kids probably don't know them as well. If there are individual words that you know the students are struggling with, somebody when we first taught it, maybe Carolyn mentioned that she started her warm-up with words that she knew the kids were having trouble with. That's a great place to start because it's good review for them to get those words in place. Words you haven't used for a while are great to bring back in. They might not remember them if they haven't done them from September to November, and it's a great time to bring them back in and make sure they still recollect them. And any words that you think you want to use when you integrate the new and old vocabulary, just jot them all down on the side here, and now you have a whole bunch of words to think about when you write your review. Then you might want to think about the new words you're introducing. List the words again and anything you want to know about them. How are you going to introduce them? Are you going to use photos? Do you have actual props? What are you going to use when you introduce these words? And when you get done with this page, you really have kind of a basic outline for your entire lesson. You just need to go back and fill in all the details. The second sheet gives you a chart to help you fill in those details. There's an example at the top. You have a proper noun if you're going to call on a particular person or people to respond. A verb, a preposition, a noun, a conjunction, more verbs, an adverb, whatever kinds of words you want to use for your commands. You don't necessarily have all of these in every command, especially when you're first starting out. You don't have all those words. The kids don't have all those words. But you just skip whatever columns you're not using. And what I find really useful with this chart is it makes me think beyond the basic commands. You know, I'll come up with a command and think, oh, I don't have an adverb. Maybe this is a good time to put one in. Or I can tell them, you know, likpotzel delet, and then separately tell them something like lalech b'makom, but I can combine them and give them two commands at once they're ready for it. And it's just much more complex for them to follow, similar to a child who can follow one command at a time initially, and then you can give them several directions at once, and they can follow both of them. So you list a bunch of different sample sentences, sample combinations of words to use for your review and warm-up. You can go on to take each of your 3 new words and really, at this point, go back to your outline and decide for sure what you want to use when you introduce those words. And you can see in the video for Shabbat that Marsha actually had actual objects that the kids could pick up and move around. Sometimes you may have that, sometimes you won't. But at this point, you can really hone in on what you're going to be using, because that might make a difference into which old words you want to integrate with the new ones. And the last page has a very similar chart for integrating the old and new words. Again, you come up with a bunch of sample sentences here. And whenever you do these charts, remember to throw in some novel commands. Some of you may look at the chart and say, wow, that's going to slow me down. I'm much better off just writing out my commands, you know, without going through this chart. And that's fine if that works better for you. Again, we would encourage you tonight to try it this way, because you might discover that it's helpful. And you also might discover that it makes you think beyond the command you would normally consider. The only other thing I want to mention, because I really want to get the breakout rooms going and give you time, is when you're done with these 3 sheets, you may already have your script done. I know one person in the group I was listening in on said that she would prefer having an outline. She finds that much easier in class to just have an outline. If you just want an outline, you've got your outline now. It's done. If you want, though, you can certainly go back and rewrite these commands in the order you want to use them, tweak them a little bit, and actually write out more of a script. And the other thing you can do is you can always just, my husband would cringe if he heard me say this, but you could always put these out and literally cut and paste them onto a sheet of paper in the order you want them, because you might decide that the second command really should go much further down. So lots of different ways you can use this to be your own particular style, but it definitely serves as a basis, and most of your work is done by the time you have these 3 sheets finished in the template.